My name is Ameer Carter. I'm from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. My medium is mixed media, but primarily focused in like visual design and charcoal. So my background in art has been very, I guess, like interesting. I spent a lot of time doing traditional related drawing when I was younger. A lot of my other creative pursuits were in acting, improv, and then also in like creative coding. And then as I guess sort of like went to college, went to art school, studied service design, which is somewhat of a hybrid of behavioral science and social science, so like anthropology, sociology, combined with design methods and business. And so the overall goal is to like become a facilitator of creative experiences, creative ideas. If I understand people, culture, community, what drives them, I can build with them, not for them. And I think a lot of spaces now, whether it's like art or design in general, they usually try to make a thing and then try to find demand for it, but it doesn't necessarily feel natural. I think what comes easier, even though it's a harder challenge to overcome, is to build something in community with someone else. And that just requires a little bit more empathy, it requires a little bit more forethought, and the ability to listen, really. You're not doing a lot of the work up front. It kind of happens after the fact. So I think like in combination with my sort of like background and sort of personal methodology, it inspires me to really build work for and with others. And I really enjoy kind of like the idea of expression as a conduit or a tool for change. And so that's, I think, definitely one of the reasons why like I'm back again for Fusion and doing it a second time. Not just because Japan's an incredible place that like I always want to find ways to be here, but mainly now, like after it has given me so much and helps me, I guess, like find greater purpose within my own practice, I'm now able to 5 years later, share that wealth in a sense, and bring 3 other people to come through to Fusion, and that's really an incredible like opportunity for me. My participation here has been, I guess, kind of like I've been wanting to come back for a while. Right after 2019, I hit the ground running back in New York and was just going full steam on my own art. I had just recently quit my startup that I was a part of and was wanting to find some greater purpose and opportunity in my life, I suppose. And Fusion came at the right time. And so after that, there was a conversation related to like, how do we go back and do this again? But the pandemic hit, and it really kind of like changed a lot of what's happening. But yeah, so because the pandemic hit, it pretty much put a pause on getting out here. But I've always wanted to come back. And when Aries Ballard got the star and he was telling me how he was going to try to do this again, I was like, yeah, let's go. And I wanted to do more this time too, because I had the means and the ability. Shout out to the Med Funds and Trash and Black Errands and a lot of the Web3 projects that I've been working on. It's given me the opportunity to bring more folks over. And I hope to continue to do that again, kind of like build somewhat of a like sponsorship or sort of like scholarship program where we can bring more folks to experience this wonderful like 3-week excursion. I think a lot of people, maybe they don't know this yet, and I think I can speak on it just because I've been here again. This is my second time. But this is a opportunity where you get to find yourself, and you get to really see what your artistic practice means to you, while also contributing to a local economy and a local community that is growing in its own sort of like artisanal way, and is a champion of this type of work. And so being able to see how your work impacts and affects that community in real time, I think is like just an invaluable experience that almost any and every artist should try to like find the means to get here. And so hopefully my goal is to continue to like build rails in a bridge, so that folks can continue to do this, because I've gotten so much out of it. I can't wait to do it again. Yeah, this place, Japan, but Kaga, most importantly, the change of pace really, really helps. The disconnection of the city, the culture around the onsen and rest and recovery, being in a really luxe hotel, and just getting a spa treatment pretty much every day. It does something to your brain chemistry, I think. You get to sit with yourself, and one of the other artists, KAMAUU, talked about kind of like stillness and the shape between kind of like the silence of things and of people. That really stuck with me because I've never really like looked at the negative space as a conduit to grow and to champion, to be a part of, to I guess to own in a sense. And it's so interesting. The irony is that like when we make work, when we make art, the canvas is all negative space until you start to fill it with something. And so we all have this really interesting relationship with this space in between and the shapes in between. And so I really do enjoy the fact that when you're not in the mix of things, you kind of get to really like find out who you are, and how your art really like, I guess, changes you or you change along with it. And yeah, Kaga's incredible for that. I think we had this conversation the other day talking about like archetypes and gardening. Dillon had talked about how like Kaga is like a wild raw garden, where you get to explore and sow seeds, and see things grow, whether it's like, you know, wild and untamed, or it's sort of cultivated and curated, but ultimately it's a place of sort of unbridled bliss. So I think that's why it works. I think it'd be incredibly hectic and more stressful if a lot of the creative like opportunity was done like in Tokyo to specifically, or in any like big city. So the means of going away is perfect. So some of the works that I made, one piece is a dip itch, and it's a collaboration with my girlfriend Bria. She is a incredible nail artist, and while she's only here for a couple of days, I wanted to find a way to showcase the work that she had done while she was here, while also pairing it with, you know, some pieces that I was coming out with. And so the title is called A Woman in Tea. It's a dip sort of shows sort of like a woman in traditional garb holding matcha tea in one hand and has her hands out on the other, and it showcases like one of Bria's nail sets. The second one is sort of a woman that's sort of somewhat obfuscating her face, and then showing some of the nails as well. Part of the presentation that was really cool started when I found frames. I wasn't sure at first what I was going to make here. I knew that like I have a fashion project with 747 Airlines, and like I was going to use this time to kind of help formulate what that looks like. So that's pieces in and of itself, but I think like truly getting into like the work inspired by here, once I found those frames at one of the local art stores in Kanazawa, that kind of kicked off the idea. And then when Bria came and made her nails, it sort of made sense to present the pieces almost like almost like a box set in a way. like if you were to sell the nails in a sense, like how cool would it be to like pair it with an illustration? And so when you take the sort of pieces off or like the nails off, like and putting for yourself, like you're kind of like transported in a mood. So it had this really, I guess, like interesting kind of design element to it. So yeah, I wanted to make works that were very gestural in nature. So use charcoal. Charcoal is like really messy, but I kind of like that because it adds like a sort of like grit and textural feel. And then you have like the vibrancy of like the nail art that sort of is an interplay with it. And then pairing that with the frames that have some flourish and then some have like a gold sort of like inlay. There's like a really like elevated presentation to it. So yeah, I think one of the core tenets I want to really practice and do more of my art is to, I'd say, like make more, almost like training a muscle. I normally am always ruled by intuition and by feeling. So if I'm in the mood to do something, then that's when I do it. And I often sit with ideas or concepts for a long time until I've built up enough of that sort of like generating energy to then commit to making something. But I want to try to really push myself to, I want to push myself to create more and find a way to manifest that, I guess, creative energy on a daily basis. And I do it all the time with my design stuff. But I think on the more traditional side, being able to commit to making something a day would be amazing. So that's the thing that I want to take that with me. I had a lot of really fun interactions with locals. Largely via karaoke. Definitely via karaoke and copious amounts of hybrids. But I would say honestly, like what I really loved about the locals were their spaces, right? Like if you go to Mama's, or if you go to, I forget the other bars I go to, like has an incredible like collection of collectibles. You see the personality of those people in the spaces when they host folks. And I really, really was inspired by that type of current of energy of saying like, they're putting themselves out on all these walls, right? They could have very like nondescript places, but they profess their fandom, their love for action figures, Marvel, superheroes, manga, comics, you name it, right? It's all out on display. But there's sort of like this understanding that everyone presents themselves as they are. So there's a really unique power in living in that truth, living in your own truth. And I think as artists, that's something that we try to eke out when it comes to our own work. Like, how do we get to the truth of something? Whether we're intentionally doing it or not. So it's great to sort of see like that type of I can't even think of the word, but it's great to sort of see that parallel between like what we do when we create versus like what folks are doing when they're creating a space for you to enjoy, whether it's karaoke, eyeballs, smoking, doesn't matter. Like we're there for an experience, and they're really good at creating work. There's a lot of places in Kaga that stand out. Shout out to Mama's, because that's my Japanese mom. So she's claiming me as her son, and I love it. I think honestly, almost any place you stumble upon, there's this level of hospitality that you get that just feels so familial, right? Like I don't speak Japanese yet, but I walk into a place and all the folks feel like I've known them for a long time. There's like a, I don't know, this primal understanding of just like we're all in a shared space, so let's enjoy it together. It's easy. I'd say one of the really cool places we saw was I did a workshop in Kaga 5 years ago, screen printing workshop. And one of I think the guy who had the space, now has like like incense in a ceramic spot, and it's sick. I mean, it's some of the illest work I've seen in a while. And then like the space itself has a really cool like modern feel, so you can tell that Kaga is getting younger in one way, but also still value tradition. And so I really like that, like the interplay between like those two worlds. Also went to me and Dillon and Javon, we stumbled upon this spot called Kmart. It's like a 15-minute walk from the onsen we were staying at, and like there's like a group of dudes that like were probably part of a biker gang, definitely doing some wild shit in their heyday, fully tatted. They run like a vintage shop. Dillon got tattooed. I'm gonna try to see if I can get tattooed there at some point before I leave. But those were really cool individuals as well. Because I didn't realize that there was like a fashion scene that's like brewing. I think like by way of KAMAUU. You went to a lot of really cool places. There's like a fabrication lab that we found. So we were able to get like 3D print stuff, embroider things. It honestly, it opened me up to like, had I known that these things were here prior to me being here, I might have even planned how I made work a lot differently. But now that I know that they're here, like the next time I'm there, like I have way more tools to play with, which I'm really, really excited about. And then we went to this coffee shop. Guy runs a coffee shop, but his wife is an amazing woodworker and built their entire bar upstairs. Her work is stunning. It's, yeah, there is a massive artistic like spirit in Kaga that I think is really like, not saying I want Kaga to be super touristy, but I think a lot of people would find incredible value visiting and seeing what's here, because it's a sleeper for sure. Yeah, although this has been my second time here, it's felt like the first time. And not just because of the sponsorship, but because the time difference between me first being here and me now being here, right? Like 5 years, especially during a pandemic where everything is changing. It's very, I guess, like, I didn't know what to expect. And I'm actually really grateful that I had the space between, because I got to like, hold on a second. Yeah. Sit. Fine. Sit. Yeah, I'm glad I got to sort of have the gap, because I have very fond memories of the first time I was here, but also the gap allowed me to sort of re-experience this for the first time again. And yeah, so yeah, there's a lot of firsts. I mean, first time sponsoring folks, also first time, like, it was weird because I remember talking to Dillon and Javon before they got here, and I talked to Dillon about this a while, like really after we had met like 7 years ago or so, like after I'd done the program. I remember telling him about it and just like waxing poetic of like the whole experience. And for me to see him and Javon like have an incredible time here, it not only made the sponsorship worth it, and same with Miguel.
But to see someone I know like experience sort of the same feelings I did when I first got here, to the point where it's like, yeah, like, so why are we going back home? Like we should find, what if we planted roots? That was, I don't know, that warmed my heart a lot. It was amazing being able to see almost everyone experience something beautiful here. And like, I tried my best not to insert myself. Even though like I had known how things go, everything was still new to me, right? Like incredibly new onsen. What the hell? Like crazy. I kept saying we were up because like I just had no idea. Like it was like this was happening. It was crazy. So like new onsen, Kaga Onsen station with the Shinkansen now. Like the ability to travel faster. Wow. So there's so much that also changed that I got to, my first experience, it's like I did it twice. Certain things were familial, of course, like, and then learning Mama's tobacco. Oh man. Wow. But seeing our stuff still there, like Maze's like full mural on Mama's door was awesome to see that it's still standing. I didn't get a chance to go into the Hattori, but I'm pretty sure some of our stuff's probably still there. So the fact that there's like we left a mark, it was great to see that it hadn't been erased. So it meant that what we did mattered in a way. So yeah, but again, I think too, like going back to the sponsorship stuff, just being able to see the work that they did was incredible. Being able to see them like explore and find their own way here was great. The fact that the whole cohort got along was awesome as well. So yeah, I'm overjoyed that I was able to provide that type of experience. I will definitely do it again. I mean, also the fact that we're all in the news, crazy, man. This was literally like the fusion. It's crazy. But like, I think the thing is that most folks, it's hard to, I think when people see this, they'll be like, oh my God, was it always like this? And no, it was never like this. But it took like years of relationship building to where it could manifest in something like this. And now that like it's here, like now there's even more opportunity to do some really unique things. So it was great to even see the difference between like my previous experience and all the amazing things that were done there. Like the workshop's still awesome. The ability to like move around was great. But now with like even better travel, better access, like bigger partners, more exposure. I think it's just, this was a completely different thing. It doesn't, like the first one that I went to doesn't hold a candle to this, like by far. Just this was amazing. It was the best. Last experience, I think some folks felt like they were bigger than it. And whether or not like you're the most famous or not famous person, or you think you're the shit, like we're all here to find ways to express ourselves in an environment that may be foreign to us and not be foreign to us, but different than where we normally make work. I just don't think that many like truly sort of appreciated like the space that was given. And I think there was an expectation of maybe wanting something more akin to this, but stuff like that like takes time. Like you can't rush programs like these because they have to be done with great intentionality. There's a lot of moving parts and a lot of hands. So yeah, I'm just grateful I got it. I got to do this twice. Like, shit's dope. This residency has already shaped my practice in many ways. Like I mentioned before, 5 years ago, it catalyzed a lot of the artistic practice I do now. It is literally the reason why I was able to get into Web3 and NFTs, both because I tapped back into what drove me as an artist. And by aligning myself with that, it led me to my friends that were telling me that they were selling Instagram filters on chain, and I was like, what the hell is that? And so now being able to, 5 years later, leverage what I know and then to give back, not just in sponsorship, but also in workshop, it has reminded me of like the reason why I make work. And it's just continually providing, I guess, more of that Promethean fire to continue. Yeah, I mean, this place is special, and I want to find more reasons to be here. And this is definitely one of those things that has helped me create a lot of relationships out here. And so I'm very eager to see where those come. Every artist leaves a piece of themselves with another when you're around them long enough. Being able to respect the morning ritual that KAMAUU does, being able to see the type of like focus that like Jungle had, being able to really like stay curious like George, and I think everyone in between, like all of them provided something to, I guess, my own experience, and like I'm taking pages out of all their books, and finding ways and how those things can help me, or the things that I relate to the most. How do I like use that to ask questions about myself? But it's been very fun to get to learn about me while learning about it. I think when looking at my work, I am all about emotion. I want a viewer to feel something. I think when you make a work, you have a thought process, but then once it's out in public and viewable, then the art turns into the perspective of who's looking at it. And it's no longer mine in that sense. But as long as someone has a feeling to this, to the pieces, then I've achieved my goal, because it's allowing, or it's putting you in a position to where you have to think about something because you feel a way, and you have to ask yourself why you feel how you feel. It could be happy, it can be sad, it could be morose, whatever the language is. But that's the overall intent. And I think as an artist sponsor, I think the way in which we continue to proliferate like artists is by supporting artists. Artists are the biggest, like outside of like collectors, artists are the biggest collectors of other artists' work. And so if we're not buying work, which I do encourage, right? Like, for example, when I was, my first time, I sold t-shirts and other gear. This time, Logan was selling these incredible network pieces. And I think I encourage more of that, more of us like bringing ourselves here and finding ways to engage in commerce, because artistic support is vital, right? Like we spend a lot of money to be here. And it would be great if we connect with a work, we connect with a person, that we can show support financially if possible. I think this is also related to the ability of paying it forward if you can, right? Like if you're an artist that's part of this program and you sold a work for a significant amount, whatever that is to you, if you're able to put some away to put towards a new artist, or even to put towards yourself to come back, so that you can show other artists the ropes. I think that's important. More of us need these kind of experiences because with exposure to life, you have more things to create. You have more references to use. You have more experiences to tap into. It's very hard to be an artist that's limited by experience. You may be really good at creating what you know. There's so much more out there. So I would encourage any one of us to pay it forward if possible. And if no one does, I will be still doing it.